He invited his childless ex-wife to his gender reveal to mock her. But she came with quadruplets. You really thought I wouldn't come? Carrie's voice cut through the celebration like a blade through silk. The Riverside Country Club ballroom fell silent. Conversations died mid-sentence. Champagne glasses paused halfway to lips. Every head in the room turned toward the entrance where she stood. Thompson's gender reveal party, carefully orchestrated to celebrate his impending fatherhood with his new wife, had just been hijacked. But it wasn't just Carrie who commanded the room's attention. 4 toddlers surrounded her. 3 boys in matching navy suits with crisp white shirts. 1 girl in a cream dress with delicate lace at the collar. Their curious eyes scanned the crowd of strangers while tiny hands clutched at Carrie's emerald green dress, a dress that fit her like confidence itself, hugging curves that had carried and delivered 4 miracles. The children couldn't have been more than 2 years old, and they were unmistakably hers. The same hazel eyes. The same determined set of the chin. Living, breathing proof of everything Thompson had claimed was impossible. Quadruplets. But before you hear about today's beautiful destruction, I need you to understand something. If you've ever been told you're not enough, if you've ever had someone make you feel worthless, if you've ever been discarded like yesterday's trash, this story is for you. Because sometimes the universe has a plan so perfect, so beautifully devastating that it takes your breath away. Hit that like button if you believe in cosmic justice. And make sure you're subscribed because this story is going to take you on a ride you won't forget. Now let's begin. Thompson's champagne flute slipped from his fingers. It shattered against the marble floor, the sound echoing through the stunned silence like a gunshot. His face drained of all color as his eyes moved from Carrie's serene smile to the children. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then back to her face, calculating, comprehending, and finally crumbling under the weight of impossible mathematics. His pregnant wife Melissa stood frozen beside the elaborate gender reveal cake, one hand protectively over her swollen belly, her mouth hanging open in shock. The party guests, Thompson's colleagues, family members, old mutual friends who'd watched Carrie be discarded like defective goods, stared in collective disbelief. They'd been told Carrie was the problem. They'd heard the whispers, infertile, unstable, obsessed, broken. They'd watched Thompson move on to a real woman who could give him what Carrie never could. And now that same barren woman stood before them with 4 children. Carrie took a deliberate step forward, her heels clicking against the polished floor with the rhythm of inevitability. One of her sons, the tallest with a stubborn cowlick, gripped her hand tighter. The little girl began humming softly, oblivious to the adult tension crackling through the room. "Hello, Margaret." Carrie's smile was gracious toward Thompson's mother. "You're looking well. Thank you for the invitation." "Carrie." Margaret gasped, her pearl necklace clutched between trembling fingers. "Is that? How is this?" Thompson finally found his voice, though it came out strangled. "What are you doing here?" Carrie tilted her head, genuine amusement playing across her features. "You invited me, Thompson. Or did you forget? Such a heartfelt invitation, too. Let me see if I can remember the exact words." She paused, watching him squirm. "Ah, yes. Come see what a real woman can do. Come see what you could never give me." Those were your words, weren't they? Gasps rippled through the crowd. Melissa's face flushed crimson as she turned to her husband. "Thompson, what is she talking about? Who is this woman?" "I'm his ex-wife," Carrie supplied helpfully. "The one he divorced because I was supposedly infertile. The one he called defective goods at our mediation hearing. The one he told everyone was too broken to ever have children." One of the boys tugged at Carrie's dress. "Mama, why is everyone staring?" Carrie bent down gracefully, brushing a dark curl from his forehead. "Because, sweetheart, Sometimes grown-ups need to be reminded of important truths they tried to bury. She straightened, her gaze locking onto Thompson. And sometimes karma doesn't just knock politely. Sometimes she kicks the door down with 4 pairs of feet. The silence that followed was absolute. Thompson's carefully constructed world, built on lies, sustained by cruelty, celebrated in this very room, began to crack. But this moment had been years in the making. To understand its full weight, one had to go back. Back to when Carrie believed his lies. Back to the day her marriage began its slow, torturous death. 3 years earlier. Carrie Morrison sat in the Clearwater Fertility Clinic waiting room, her hands twisted together in her lap. The magazines featuring beaming mothers mocked her. She'd memorized every cover during her 17 visits to this place. 17 IUI attempts. 17 failures. 17 reasons for Thompson to look at her with disappointment. Mrs. Morrison. Dr. Ramon will see you now. Dr. Ramon's expression held pity as Carrie entered her office. I've reviewed your latest results. The IUI wasn't successful. It's me again, isn't it? Carrie whispered. Something's wrong with me. Dr. Ramon frowned. Carrie, listen carefully. There is nothing definitively wrong with you. Your ovarian reserve is good. Your hormones are normal. Your uterine lining is healthy. Yes, you have some minor pose markers, but nothing that should prevent conception entirely. Then why can't I get pregnant? Fertility is a couple's issue. Both partners need evaluation. Has Thompson completed all recommended tests? Carrie bit her lip. He did the first one. The basic sperm analysis. You said it was borderline. Borderline low normal, yes. I recommended follow-up testing, but he never came back. He's been busy with work, Carrie said automatically, defending him. Dr. Ramon's expression softened with pity. Carrie, we should schedule Thompson for a complete male fertility workup before proceeding with more treatments for you. He'll think I'm blaming him. He already thinks I'm unstable. When Carrie arrived home, she found Thompson already there with a glass of bourbon in hand. Unusual for a Wednesday afternoon. His jaw was set in that familiar way that made her stomach clench. Well, he demanded. Did it work? It didn't take, Carrie said softly. Dr. Ramon said we could try again or consider IVF or... Thompson slammed his glass down. More money. More procedures. More time wasted on something that clearly isn't going to work. Thompson, please. Do you know what Eric told me today? His wife is pregnant. Again. Their 3rd kid, Carrie. Meanwhile, I'm married to someone who can't even manage the one biological function women are designed for. The words hit like physical blows. That's not fair. Dr. Ramon said we should test you more thoroughly. Don't. Thompson's eyes flashed dangerously. Don't you dare try to make this my problem. My college girlfriend got pregnant accidentally. We had to take care of it, but it proved I'm perfectly capable. This is you, Carrie. Your body. Your failure. I'm sorry, she whispered, the apology automatic. Thompson grabbed his keys. I'm going to stay at Eric's tonight. I need space to think about what I really want from my life. Whether this marriage still makes sense. Thompson, wait. Some women just aren't meant to be mothers. Maybe it's time you accepted that. The door closed with a decisive click. Carrie slid down the kitchen cabinet to the floor and cried. Deep, racking sobs. She cried for the babies she couldn't create, for the marriage that was disintegrating, for believing she was fundamentally broken. Thompson didn't come home the next day, or the day after that. He sent brief, cold text messages. Still need space. Don't call me. 4 days later, Her best friend Rachel showed up with wine and fierce determination. "You've been dodging my calls. We're talking." Over pad thai, the story poured out. Rachel listened with increasing fury. "Carrie, listen to yourself. You're talking like this is all your fault. Has it occurred to you that Thompson might be part of the problem? His test was normal. Borderline, but normal. That doesn't mean he gets to treat you like you're broken. That doesn't mean he gets to abandon you and make you feel worthless." Later that night, alone, Carrie noticed something odd on their shared cell phone account. Thompson had upgraded his plan, adding unlimited data. Curious, she logged in and froze. Thousands of text messages. Not to Eric's number. To a number she didn't recognize. Messages starting 3 months ago and increasing in frequency. Hundreds per day recently. Late-night messages. Early morning exchanges. Constant communication. Carrie reverse-searched the number. Melissa Bradford. Her friend. Her college roommate. The woman who'd been so supportive through Carrie's fertility struggles. The room tilted. Carrie gripped the desk, forcing herself to breathe through the nausea. Thompson had been texting Melissa thousands of times, while telling Carrie he needed space, while blaming her for everything wrong in their marriage. With trembling hands, she called Rachel. "He's having an affair," she said. "With Melissa." Rachel arrived within minutes. Carrie showed her the phone records. Thousands of texts, constant calls, a timeline that screamed affair. "That son of a bitch," Rachel breathed. "He's divorcing me," Carrie said hollowly. "He came here tonight to tell me he's filing. He said I'm mentally unstable. That courts will side with him because there's medical evidence I'm infertile." Rachel's eyes sharpened. "What medical evidence? Dr. Rahman never gave you a definitive diagnosis." "She didn't." Carrie turned to her friend, something cold settling over the shock. "Thompson was so certain. He kept saying you're the problem, like it was established fact. But Dr. Rahman only said I had mild PCOS. She wanted to test Thompson more thoroughly, but he refused." "What if he already knew?" Rachel said slowly. "What if he already knew what was wrong, and it wasn't you?" The implication hung between them. "His first test came back borderline low normal," Carrie said, pieces arranging themselves into a horrible pattern. Dr. Rahman recommended follow-up. He never went. But if he'd done the testing and found out the problem was him, he couldn't blame you. Couldn't justify leaving you for someone better. "I need to get my medical records," Carrie said. "All of them. If Thompson is claiming there's evidence I'm infertile, I need to know exactly what my doctors actually said." Monday morning, Carrie went directly to Dr. Rahman's office. "I need copies of all my medical records," she told the receptionist. "Everything." Dr. Rahman saw her immediately. "Carrie, Paula said you're requesting your full medical file?" "Yes. My husband claims there's medical evidence that I'm definitively infertile, but I don't remember you ever telling me that." Dr. Rahman's expression shifted. "I never told you that because it's not true. Carrie, I need to ask you something. Has Thompson ever come to appointments alone? Spoken with me privately?" "Maybe. There were times when I was getting blood drawn." "Why?" Dr. Rahman pulled up Carrie's file, scrolling with increasing speed. "Because there are notations about conversations with your husband that I don't remember having." And she stopped, her face going still. "Carrie, did Thompson ever tell you he requested copies of your test results?" "No." "Did you authorize him to receive copies independently?" "I signed authorization forms when we started treatment." "Why? What's wrong?" Dr. Rahman's voice was tight with anger. "According to my records, Thompson requested and received copies of your complete test results 6 times over the past 18 months, including your comprehensive fertility panel from last April. Carrie's mouth went dry. What did that panel show? That you have mild PCOS with slightly elevated androgens, but that your ovarian reserve is excellent, your egg quality appears normal, and there is no pathology that would prevent conception with appropriate treatment. Dr. Rahman turned to face her directly. Carrie, that report specifically stated that your fertility issues were likely mild and treatable, and that we should evaluate male factor issues before proceeding. The room spun. He knew. Thompson knew I wasn't the problem. He had the actual medical evidence, and he lied to me about what it said. It appears that way, yes. Dr. Rahman leaned forward. Carrie, did Thompson ever discourage you from coming to appointments? Offer to pick up results for you? Carrie's mind raced back. Yes, Thompson had helpfully offered to call for results, had clarified what doctors supposedly said, had suggested Carrie was too emotional to accurately understand medical information. He told me you said I had diminished ovarian reserve, Carrie said slowly. After that panel last April. He said you'd told him privately that my eggs were poor quality, and that we were running out of time. Dr. Rahman's face went hard. I never said that. Your ovarian reserve tested above average. Your AMH levels were excellent. Carrie, this isn't just lying. This is medical gaslighting. He deliberately withheld and misrepresented medical information to make you believe you were infertile when the evidence suggested otherwise. Why would he do this? Is there any possibility Thompson had reasons to want you to believe you were infertile? To want to prevent you from getting pregnant? Suddenly, everything clicked into place with horrible clarity. If Carrie was definitively infertile, Thompson could leave her with justification. Could blame the divorce on her failure. Could walk away with sympathy instead of judgment. Could move on to Melissa without being the villain. But if Carrie was actually fertile, if the problem was with him, then he was just a man abandoning his wife for another woman. Thompson needed Carrie to be infertile to preserve his image. So he'd made her believe she was, even when the medical evidence said otherwise. He's having an affair with my friend Melissa, Carrie said. He's filing for divorce, and he told me his lawyer would present medical evidence of my infertility to show he had grounds to leave. Dr. Rahman's hands clenched. Carrie, I want you to take your full medical file. Give it to the best divorce lawyer you can find. And I want you to know something. There is nothing wrong with you. Your body is not broken. You are not defective. Tears streamed down Carrie's face, but they weren't tears of shame. They were tears of rage and grief for the years she'd spent believing she was flawed. Can I still have children? With appropriate treatment and the right partner? I see no medical reason why not, Dr. Rahman said firmly. Carrie, you're 32 years old with good ovarian reserve and no significant pathology. With a different partner and honest medical communication, your chances would be significantly better than you've been led to believe. Hope flickered to life in Carrie's chest. Maybe her dream wasn't dead. Maybe it had just been deliberately buried by a man who needed her broken. Dr. Rahman's nurse gave her a phone number. Patricia Thornhill. She's a divorce attorney who specializes in cases involving deception and fraud. She's a shark. Carrie left with a thick folder of medical records and called Ms. Thornhill from the parking lot. My husband has been lying about medical information to hide his infertility and justify an affair, Carrie said. He's filing, but I want to file first. And I want him to pay for what he's done. How soon can you come to my office? 20 minutes. I'll clear my afternoon. Bring every document you have. We're going to make sure your husband regrets ever thinking he could get away with this. Have you ever been blamed for something that wasn't your fault? Have you ever absorbed someone else's cruelty because you thought you deserved it? Drop a comment below about a time you discovered your worth after someone tried to diminish it. Patricia Thornhill was exactly what Carrie needed. A woman in her 50s with steel gray hair, a designer suit, and eyes that had seen every variation of marital deception. Talk, Miss Thornhill said. Start from the beginning. Carrie told everything. The 3 years of fertility treatments. Thompson's increasing cruelty. The discovery of thousands of texts to Melissa. His announcement that he was filing for divorce with medical evidence of her infertility. And finally, the revelation that Thompson had secretly obtained her medical records, seen that she was actually fertile, and lied about what they said. Ms. Thornhill took meticulous notes. This is one of the most calculated cases of psychological abuse I've encountered in 23 years of practice. What your husband did goes beyond standard marital infidelity. Can we use it? We're going to bury him with it. But understand, this will get ugly. When Thompson realizes you're not going to roll over, he will escalate. I don't care. Ms. Thornhill moved fast. First, we're filing for divorce today, beating him to the courthouse. Second, we're requesting full financial disclosure. If he's been supporting Melissa financially, we'll find it. He said his lawyer told him courts would be sympathetic because of my mental instability, Carrie said bitterly. Ms. Thornhill's smile turned predatory. His lawyer is either incompetent or Thompson is lying. Courts don't look kindly on affairs, and they really don't look kindly on documented psychological abuse. We have your actual medical records showing you were never definitively infertile. We have proof Thompson obtained those records and misrepresented them. This isn't going to play out the way he thinks. 3 hours later, Carrie left with instructions to change all passwords, open a separate bank account, and document every interaction with Thompson. Her phone buzzed. Thompson, my lawyer says you haven't responded to the divorce notification. Don't make this difficult, Carrie. Just sign the papers when they arrive. Carrie typed back, I've already filed. Your lawyer should have the notification by end of business today. See you in court. She hit send and immediately blocked his number. The next 3 weeks were a blur of legal proceedings and document gathering. Carrie opened her own bank account, collected financial records, changed every password, and started therapy with Dr. Nina Patel, who specialized in emotional abuse. What you're describing is classic coercive control, Dr. Patel told her. Your husband systematically isolated you from your own perception of reality. That's not just being a bad partner, that's deliberate psychological manipulation. I feel so stupid for not seeing it. You were being actively prevented from seeing it. That's not your failure. That's him being very good at manipulation. Then Thompson's counterattack came. Carrie woke to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. Confused, she scrolled through them, her stomach sinking. Rachel. Carrie. Call me immediately. Something's happened. Her mother. Please tell me what Thompson's mother is saying isn't true. Her coworker. Is everything okay? There are concerning things being said about you. She called Rachel. Thompson's destroying you on social media, Rachel said furiously. He posted last night a long detailed post about how you've been mentally unstable for years, how you became dangerously obsessed with having a baby. He's painting himself as the concerned husband who finally had to leave for his own mental health. Carrie pulled up Thompson's Facebook page. The post was there, lengthy, detailed, written in a tone of reluctant confession. I've hesitated to share this publicly, but recent events have forced my hand. For the past 3 years, I've watched my wife struggle with infertility issues that took an increasingly dark toll on her mental health. What started as understandable disappointment became an all-consuming obsession. I tried to be supportive. But nothing was ever enough. When medical professionals suggested we accept that biological children might not be in our future, Carrie refused to listen. She became convinced there was some conspiracy, that doctors were lying to her, that I was somehow sabotaging her efforts. The paranoia got worse. She started making accusations I won't detail here. She pushed away friends who tried to help. Eventually, I realized I couldn't save her from herself. I'm sharing this not to hurt Carrie, but because she's now making public accusations that are simply untrue. I hope she gets the help she needs. The post had 247 likes and 89 comments expressing sympathy for Thompson. Melissa Bradford, your strength through all of this has been incredible. You deserve all the happiness in the world. Red heart. Carrie read it 3 times, feeling sicker each time. He'd flipped the entire narrative. Made himself the victim. Made her the unstable one. Her phone buzzed. Her mother. Margaret showed me messages from your doctor suggesting you need psychiatric help. Is that true? What messages? What are you talking about? From a Dr. Mitchell. Thompson showed them to Margaret. I've never even met Dr. Mitchell. Mom, Thompson is making this up. I have proof. Carrie, sweetheart, you have been very focused on the baby thing. Maybe too focused. Why would Thompson risk lying publicly if you have proof? Because he's counting on people believing him instead of me. Carrie's voice cracked. Mom, please. But her mother wouldn't listen. Her boss texted asking for a meeting about concerning information regarding her mental health. Her landlord received a call from Thompson expressing concerns about her stability. Thompson wasn't just destroying her reputation. He was systematically attacking every aspect of her life. Carrie's hands shook as another text came through from Thompson on a new number. You can try to drag me through the mud with your lies, but everyone sees what you really are. Unstable. Obsessed. Pathetic. You're going to lose everything, Carrie. Your job, your friends, your credibility. And when it's all over, you'll be exactly what you always were. Alone and defective. Rachel came over immediately. He's panicking. Why would he do this now if he wasn't desperate? The deposition. You said he admitted to lying about your medical results. That's devastating testimony. So they're trying a Hail Mary. Destroy your credibility before the case goes to court. Carrie felt the walls closing in. What if it works? Then we document everything and give it to Ms. Thornhill. He's handing us ammunition. Ms. Thornhill's response was swift. He just committed several actionable offenses. Defamation, harassment, intimidation. This is going directly to the judge. She drafted letters to Carrie's landlord and employer, filed an emergency motion for a restraining order, and requested an expedited hearing date. Thompson wanted to make this public? Fine. We'll make it very public. But we'll tell the true story. The emergency hearing came quickly. Judge Henderson was a no-nonsense woman in her 60s who reviewed the evidence. Thompson's Facebook post, harassing messages, attempts to contact Carrie's employer, with increasing severity. Mr. Morrison, stand up, Judge Henderson said. Thompson rose, his confidence faltering. Did you make a public post on Facebook discussing your wife's alleged mental health issues while divorce proceedings were active? Yes, Your Honor, but yes or no answers. Did you contact Mrs. Morrison's employer? Yes. Did you send Mrs. Morrison a text calling her defective? Thompson's jaw tightened. I was upset. Yes or no? Yes. Judge Henderson made notes. I've read the deposition transcript. The one where you admitted under oath to obtaining your wife's medical records, misrepresenting their contents, and failing to disclose your own fertility issues for 3 years. Is that correct? Thompson's lawyer tried to object, But Judge Henderson cut him off. "Here's what's going to happen. I'm granting the restraining order effective immediately. Mr. Morrison, you are prohibited from contacting Mrs. Morrison directly or indirectly, from posting about her on social media, from discussing her with her employer or any third party. Violation will result in contempt charges. Do you understand? Your Honor, this is. Do you understand?" Thompson's face was red with rage. "Yes." "Good. As for expedited proceedings, I'm setting a trial date for 6 weeks from today. This court is adjourned." The gavel came down like victory. The next 6 weeks were intense. Carrie met with Ms. Thornhill twice weekly, practiced testimony, continued therapy, and slowly started rebuilding connections Thompson had tried to destroy. She called her mother again, this time with copies of medical records and deposition transcripts. "Mom, I need you to read these. Then decide whether you believe me or Thompson based on evidence, not on who seems more credible." 3 days later, her mother called back, voice thick with tears. "Sweetheart, I am so sorry. I didn't know. What he did to you, how can I help?" The reconciliation brought Carrie to tears. Having her mother's support felt like recovering a piece of herself. She also joined a support group for survivors of emotional abuse. "The hardest part was realizing I wasn't crazy," one woman shared. "For years, he made me think my perceptions were wrong. Learning to trust myself again, that's been the real journey." Carrie understood completely. Her journey wasn't just about winning the divorce. It was about reclaiming her sense of reality. Meanwhile, Ms. Thornhill's discovery requests were surgical in precision. She demanded all communications between Thompson and Melissa, Thompson's medical records, bank statements, and calendar records. Thompson's lawyer fought every request, but Judge Henderson shut him down. If Mr. Morrison has nothing to hide, he should have no problem producing the requested documents. 2 weeks later, the documents arrived. They were devastating. The texts between Thompson and Melissa went back 6 months, escalating from friendly to explicit. Plans to meet. Hotel reservations. Discussions about a future together. But the most damning exchange came from 2 months ago. Thompson: "I got Carrie's latest test results. Same as always, everything points to her being the problem. Dr. Rahman keeps pushing for me to do more testing. But what's the point? Melissa: "What did the results say exactly?" Thompson: "Technical stuff about ovarian reserve and egg quality. The important part is that they confirm she's got significant fertility issues. It's going to make the divorce easier. Proves I had legitimate grounds. No one can blame me for wanting a partner who can actually have kids." Melissa: "Does Carrie know what they said?" Thompson: "She knows what she needs to know. That her body isn't working. I'm not going to give her the actual report. She'll just obsess over every detail. Better to keep it simple. You're infertile, I deserve better." Melissa: "You're probably right. She does tend to be irrational." Thompson: "Exactly. This way is kinder, really. Saves her from false hope." Carrie read the exchange in Ms. Thornhill's office, tears of rage blurring her vision. He knew. He had my actual medical results, and he deliberately kept them from me because they didn't say what he wanted. "Yes," Ms. Thornhill confirmed. "And he discussed his ongoing deception with his mistress. This will destroy any sympathy a judge might have for him." The bank records showed Thompson had paid for a 2-week Hawaii vacation with Melissa and covered her rent 3 times, totaling $6,000 in marital funds. "Dissipation of assets," Ms. Thornhill said. "Judges hate it. He'll have to pay it back." Then came Thompson's medical records. Ms. Thornhill slid the document across her desk, her expression sympathetic. "Prepare yourself." Carrie read Thompson's comprehensive fertility panel from 5 years ago, done privately before they'd started trying to conceive. Low sperm count, poor motility, high DNA fragmentation. The report concluded, natural conception highly unlikely without treatment. Recommend immediate intervention, possibly IVF with ICSI. He knew, Carrie whispered. Before we even started trying, he knew he was infertile. Not just infertile. According to this, his chances of natural conception were less than 5%. The fertility issues were almost entirely his. 3 years of believing she was broken. 3 years of invasive procedures and self-blame. All while Thompson had known from the beginning that he was the reason. Why? Carrie's voice broke. Why wouldn't he just tell me? Because telling you would require vulnerability, admitting to a failure. He couldn't tolerate that, so he made you the scapegoat. There was more. Thompson had a follow-up consultation where the doctor recommended treatment. But according to the notes, Thompson declined all interventions, telling the doctor, "My wife doesn't need to know about this. We'll deal with her issues first." He was never planning to address his issues. He was planning to divorce her and find someone else while painting himself as the victim. The night before the trial, Rachel came over with wine. "How are you feeling?" she asked. "Strangely calm," Carrie admitted. "I spent 3 years believing I was the problem. Months discovering the truth. Weeks preparing to prove it. I'm ready for this to be over. You're going to do great. You have the evidence, you have Ms. Thornhill, and you have the truth." "I know." Carrie looked at her trial preparation materials. "But I also know that no matter what happens tomorrow, I've already won the most important victory." "What's that?" "I got myself back. Thompson spent years convincing me I was broken. But I'm still here. I'm still standing. I know my worth now." Rachel raised her glass. "To knowing your worth." "To knowing my worth," Carrie echoed. But even as she said it, Carrie couldn't quiet the small voice of fear. What if the truth isn't enough? Tomorrow would bring answers. When dawn broke, Carrie dressed with meticulous care, a navy dress suit, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back elegantly. The armor of a woman with nothing to hide. She met Ms. Thornhill outside the courthouse at 8:45. "This is it," Ms. Thornhill said. "Are you ready?" Carrie took a deep breath, thinking about the woman she'd been, broken, blamed, convinced she was defective. And the woman she'd become, stronger, clearer, unafraid to fight. "I'm ready," she said. "Have you ever discovered that someone you trusted was lying to you about something fundamental? That your entire reality was built on their deception? Drop a comment about how you found the strength to face the truth and fight back." They entered the courtroom. Thompson was already seated with his lawyer Marcus, wearing an expensive suit and an expression of calm confidence. Judge Henderson entered. "We're here for the divorce trial of Morrison versus Morrison. Ms. Thornhill, call your first witness." The plaintiff calls Dr. Sarah Rahman. Dr. Rahman took the stand with professional composure. "Dr. Rahman, what is your relationship to Mrs. Morrison?" "I was her fertility specialist for 3 years." "In your professional opinion, was Mrs. Morrison infertile?" Dr. Rahman's voice was firm. "No. Mrs. Morrison had mild PCOS, but her ovarian reserve was excellent. Her egg quality was normal, and I saw no pathology that would prevent conception with appropriate treatment. The term infertile would be inaccurate." Murmurs went through the courtroom. "Did you recommend Mr. Morrison undergo comprehensive fertility testing?" "Yes, multiple times. His initial sperm analysis came back borderline low normal, which warranted follow-up. He never returned for recommended panels." "Did Mr. Morrison ever request copies of Mrs. Morrison's test results?" "Yes. 6 times over 18 months. I found it unusual. Did you ever diagnose Mrs. Morrison with mental health conditions related to fertility? Absolutely not. She experienced normal emotional responses to a difficult medical situation. Nothing that would constitute a psychiatric diagnosis. Ms. Thornhill entered Carrie's medical records into evidence, showing normal ovarian reserve and no significant pathology. Marcus's cross-examination accomplished nothing. Dr. Ramon's testimony was devastating to Thompson's narrative. The plaintiff calls Dr. James Whitaker. The male fertility specialist who'd tested Thompson took the stand. Did you perform a comprehensive fertility evaluation on Thompson Morrison in 2018? Yes. What were the results? Mr. Morrison presented with severe male factor infertility, low sperm count, poor motility, high DNA fragmentation. I gave him less than 5% chance of natural conception without intervention. Complete silence fell over the courtroom. Carrie watched Thompson's face go pale. Did you recommend treatment? Yes. Lifestyle modifications, supplements, and IVF with ICSI. I also recommended genetic testing. Did Mr. Morrison pursue any treatments? No. He attended one follow-up where I reiterated recommendations, but he declined all interventions. He told me, Dr. Whitaker consulted his notes. My wife doesn't need to know about this. We'll deal with her issues first, and if that doesn't work, I'll consider my options. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Judge Henderson's expression shifted from professional neutrality to barely concealed disgust. So Mr. Morrison knew he had severe fertility issues, knew treatment was available, chose not to pursue it, and specifically instructed you not to inform his wife? Correct. Marcus's cross-examination was brief and ineffective. The medical records spoke for themselves. The plaintiff calls Mrs. Carrie Morrison. Carrie's heart hammered as she took the stand. Ms. Thornhill approached gently. Mrs. Morrison, describe your marriage to Thompson Morrison. Carrie grounded herself. For the first 2 years I thought it was good. But when we started trying for children and it didn't happen immediately, things changed. He became cold. Critical. Everything became my fault. He blamed me for our inability to conceive, called me defective, told me I was failing at the one thing women are supposed to be able to do. Did you believe him? Yes. Carrie's voice caught. I believed him completely. When the fertility treatments didn't work, he convinced me it was because something was fundamentally wrong with me. I spent 3 years thinking I was broken. When did you discover the truth? After Thompson asked for a divorce. My doctor told me I should review my actual medical records. That's when I found out Thompson had been receiving copies of my results and lying to me about what they said. How did that make you feel? Devastated. Betrayed. I'd put my body through years of invasive procedures, spent thousands of dollars, destroyed my self-worth, all based on lies. And Thompson had known the whole time that he was the reason we couldn't conceive. Did you later discover Mr. Morrison was having an affair? Yes. With my friend Melissa Bradford. They'd been involved for at least 6 months. The text messages showed they'd bonded over Thompson's complaints about me, including his lies about my fertility. Carrie walked through the rest, the gaslighting, the emotional abuse, the systematic destruction of her confidence. She described finding the phone records, confronting the truth, and beginning to rebuild. Through it all, she kept her voice steady, her facts clear, her emotions controlled. This wasn't hysterical rambling. This was calm, documented truth. When Marcus stood for cross-examination, Carrie braced herself. Mrs. Morrison, isn't it true you became obsessed with having a baby? I was focused on addressing what I believed was a medical issue. That's not obsession, that's pursuing healthcare. 17 IUI cycles seems excessive. Most people would have stopped if they'd known the real problem. But I was operating on false information. Thompson told me the doctors said I needed more attempts. You've accused my client of terrible things. Don't you think you're exaggerating because you're hurt about the divorce? No. I have documentation. Medical records proving he lied. His own fertility test showing he knew he was infertile. Text messages where he admitted hiding the truth. This isn't exaggeration, it's evidence. Marcus tried several more angles, but Carrie didn't break. The truth was her shield. The plaintiff calls Thompson Morrison. Thompson took the stand with visible reluctance. His earlier confidence evaporated. Ms. Thornhill wasted no time. Mr. Morrison, you had comprehensive fertility testing in 2018, correct? Yes. What did the results show? Some issues with sperm count and quality. Some issues. Let me read from Dr. Whitaker's report. Severe male factor infertility with less than 5% chance of natural conception. Does that sound like some issues? Thompson's jaw tightened. I'm not a doctor. But you understood it well enough to specifically instruct Dr. Whitaker not to tell your wife, didn't you? I don't recall. Dr. Whitaker's notes say otherwise. And we have his testimony under oath. Mr. Morrison, did you request copies of your wife's medical results from Dr. Rahman? Yes. Why? I wanted to stay informed. And when those results showed your wife had no significant fertility issues, what did you tell her they said? Thompson looked desperately at Marcus. I may have simplified the information. You told her she had poor egg quality and diminished ovarian reserve when the actual report said the exact opposite. Is that simplifying or lying? I was trying to protect her from false hope. Protect her? By making her believe she was infertile when she wasn't? By letting her undergo years of unnecessary treatments? By destroying her self-esteem while hiding that you were the actual cause? That's not. You admitted in your deposition that you deliberately misrepresented her medical results. Were you lying then or are you lying now? Thompson's face flushed red. I told her what she needed to know. Which was lies. And while lying to your wife about her medical condition, you were also having an affair with Melissa Bradford, correct? That started after the marriage was already over. The marriage was legally intact. You were living with your wife, sometimes still intimate with her, while sleeping with another woman. Yes or no? Yes, Thompson ground out. And you discussed your lies about Carrie's fertility with Ms. Bradford. We have the texts. You told her it was kinder to keep the truth from Carrie. Do you stand by that? I know. I mean. Mr. Morrison, you spent 3 years systematically convincing your wife she was broken when you knew you were the reason for your fertility issues. You lied about medical results. You refused treatment for yourself while making her undergo invasive procedures. You had an affair with her friend. Then you launched a public smear campaign calling her mentally unstable when she filed for divorce. Is that accurate? Thompson didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Every word out of his mouth only made it worse. I'll take your silence as confirmation. No further questions. Judge Henderson called a brief recess. When they returned, she looked at both parties with an expression that made Thompson visibly shrink. I've heard enough, she said. I'm ready to rule. Mr. Morrison, stand up. Thompson rose on shaking legs. In my 20 years on the bench, I have seen many difficult divorces. But the systematic psychological abuse documented in this case is among the most disturbing I've encountered. Judge Henderson's voice was steel. You deliberately misrepresented medical information to your wife for years. You convinced her she was defective when you knew the problem was primarily yours. You gaslight her into believing she was mentally unstable for wanting children, a desire you encouraged while secretly ensuring it would never be fulfilled. This wasn't just infidelity or dishonesty. This was calculated psychological torture. Thompson's face was ashen. I'm granting the divorce in favor of Mrs. Morrison on grounds of extreme cruelty. As for asset division, I typically aim for equitable distribution. But given the extraordinary circumstances, including dissipation of marital assets to support your affair and deliberate infliction of emotional harm, I'm awarding Mrs. Morrison 75% of all marital assets. Marcus shot to his feet. Your Honor, that's extremely unusual. So is lying to your spouse about medical results for 3 years, Mr. Reeves. Sit down. Judge Henderson consulted her notes. Additionally, Mr. Morrison, you will pay Mrs. Morrison's legal fees in full, as well as reimbursement for all fertility treatments undertaken during the marriage. Approximately $68,000. You will also pay punitive damages of $50,000 for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Thompson looked like he might be sick. Furthermore, I am entering into the record my strong recommendation that Mrs. Morrison pursue criminal charges for fraud and a separate civil suit. What you did may constitute criminal behavior beyond the scope of this divorce. She paused, looking directly at Thompson with unconcealed contempt. Mr. Morrison, you came into this court expecting sympathy. You painted yourself as a long-suffering husband. But the evidence tells a different story. It tells of a man who systematically destroyed his wife's mental health to cover his own inadequacies. A man who lied, manipulated, and gaslight for years. A man who showed no remorse even when confronted with proof of his cruelty. Judge Henderson's voice softened as she turned to Carrie. Mrs. Morrison, I want you to understand something. Nothing about this situation was your fault. You were systematically abused by someone who was supposed to love and protect you. The fact that you found the strength to fight back, to pursue the truth, to stand up for yourself, that speaks to remarkable courage. I hope you can rebuild your life knowing that the court has validated your experience and held your abuser accountable. Thank you, Your Honor, Carrie managed, tears streaming down her face. Tears of vindication, of relief, of a burden finally lifted. This court is adjourned. The gavel came down with satisfying finality. Thompson didn't look at her as he walked out, shoulders hunched, his confident performance completely shattered. Carrie sat in stunned silence. Ms. Thornhill placed a hand on her shoulder. You did it. You won. I won, Carrie repeated, the words feeling surreal. It's really over. It's really over. And Judge Henderson's ruling is about as favorable as it gets. This decision is public record. Anyone who believed his lies can look up the facts. Rachel appeared, pulling Carrie into a fierce hug. I'm so proud of you. You were amazing. Carrie's mother was right behind her, tears streaming. Sweetheart, I'm so sorry for ever doubting you. It's okay, Mom. It's over now. It's finally over. The news of the divorce ruling spread quickly through their social circles. By week's end, Thompson's narrative had completely collapsed. Friends who'd believed his Facebook post now knew the truth. Colleagues who'd thought he was the victim learned he was the abuser. People who'd pitted him discovered he'd been lying all along. Some reached out to Carrie with apologies. Others faded away, embarrassed. Carrie found she didn't care. The people who mattered had stood by her. Melissa disappeared from social media after someone posted the trial details. Rumors circulated that she and Thompson had split, that he'd questioned the baby's paternity, that she'd moved out of state. Carrie didn't follow up. Melissa was a closed chapter. Instead, Carrie focused on rebuilding. She used part of the settlement for a 2-week vacation to Ireland. Traveling alone, discovering what it felt like to make decisions based solely on what she wanted. She visited castles, walked cliffs, sat in cozy pubs reading books that had nothing to do with fertility or divorce. She just existed, and that was enough. When she returned, she made changes. She left the architecture firm, not because of problems, but because she realized she'd taken that job because it was safe, not because it fulfilled her. Instead, she enrolled in art classes, remembering the painting she'd loved in college before Thompson had convinced her it was impractical. She started creating again, bold, emotional pieces that processed 3 years of pain and emerging hope. A gallery owner saw her work at a local art fair and offered her a showing. 6 months after the divorce, Carrie Morrison had her first solo exhibition. Opening night was surreal. Carrie stood surrounded by her work. Paintings that told the story of destruction and rebuilding, of darkness and light, of discovering strength. Rachel appeared with champagne. These are incredible. Half of them have already sold. I still can't believe people want to buy them, Carrie admitted. They're raw and honest and powerful. They make people feel something. Rachel clinked glasses. You've come so far. Do you ever think about where you were a year ago? Sometimes. But mostly I try to look forward. So what's next? Carrie smiled, thinking about the decision she'd made. The appointment scheduled for next month. Actually, I'm thinking about having a baby. Rachel's eyes went wide. Really? Really? I met with Dr. Rahman. She says with donor sperm and IVF, my chances are excellent. All those years of believing I couldn't, it was all lies. My body works fine. It just needed the right circumstances. Are you sure you're ready? I don't know if anyone's ever completely ready. But I want this. And I'm not doing it to please anyone else or save a relationship or prove something. I'm doing it because I want to be a mother. For me. On my own terms. Rachel hugged her. You're going to be an amazing mom. 18 months after the divorce, Carrie stood in her cheerful apartment, staring at 4 positive pregnancy tests. Dr. Rahman had warned her that fertility drugs sometimes resulted in multiples. They'd transferred 2 embryos to improve success odds. All 4 had implanted. Quadruplets. Carrie had laughed until she cried when the ultrasound showed 4 distinct heartbeats. The irony was perfect. Thompson had spent years convincing her she couldn't have 1 baby. Now she was having 4. Are you sure about this? Dr. Rahman had asked. Quadruplets carry significant risks. We could discuss selective reduction. No, Carrie said immediately. I want all of them. All 4 of my miracles. The pregnancy was difficult. High risk, requiring bed rest and careful monitoring. But Carrie moved through it with determination. Rachel moved in to help. Carrie's mother visited weekly. Her support system rallied. At 34 weeks, Carrie went into labor. The medical team had been prepared. 3 boys and 1 girl, each weighing between 3 and 4 pounds. Small but healthy, with strong cries that filled the delivery room. Carrie held them one by one, these impossible miracles, and felt something settle in her soul. A completeness. Not about the babies completing her, but about her completing herself and then sharing that wholeness with them. What are you going to name them? Rachel asked, holding the smallest boy. Carrie looked at her 4 children, James, Oliver, Nathan, and little Sophie, and smiled. These are my second chances. My proof that the story doesn't end where someone else tries to end it. 2 years later, Carrie received an unexpected invitation. Thick cardstock, expensive printing, addressed to Ms. Carrie Blackwell and family. She'd remarried 6 months earlier, to Daniel Blackwell, a kind man she'd met at an art exhibition who'd fallen in love with her work before knowing her story. A man who'd met her quadruplets on the third date and hadn't run. A man who'd proposed with tears, saying he'd never imagined he could love someone else's children as much as he loved her for. They'd married quietly, building a life that had everything to do with gentle, honest love. The invitation, though, wasn't for a celebration. Thompson Morrison and Melissa Bradford request the pleasure of your company at a celebration of their impending arrival. A gender reveal party. Thompson was inviting her. After everything. Is this a joke? Daniel asked, reading over her shoulder. I don't think so. Carrie flipped it over. On the back, in Thompson's handwriting. It would mean a lot to have you there. Let's show everyone we can be mature about this. Rachel, visiting with her own son, snorted. He wants you there to make himself look good. To show he's moved on, that there are no hard feelings. Or, Carrie said slowly, a smile spreading. He wants to rub in my face that he's having a baby with Melissa. One last chance to make me feel like I lost and he won. Are you going to go? Daniel asked carefully. Carrie looked at the invitation, then at her quadruplets playing in the living room. James building blocks with fierce concentration. Oliver reading to Sophie. Nathan trying to get the dog to play. Her children. Her miracles. Her proof that Thompson's narrative had been wrong. Yes, she said decisively. I'm absolutely going. Daniel looked concerned. Why give him the satisfaction? Because I'm not going alone. I'm bringing all 4 of my beautiful, healthy children. I'm bringing proof that everything he said about me was a lie. And I'm going to walk into that party and show everyone exactly what infertile looks like. Which brought them to today. To this moment. You really thought I wouldn't come? Carrie stood in the Riverside Country Club ballroom entrance with 3 sons in navy suits, 1 daughter in a cream dress, and the satisfaction of knowing she was about to rewrite the ending Thompson thought he'd won. Thompson's champagne glass lay shattered on the floor. The room was frozen in shocked silence. And Carrie was just getting started. She took another step forward, heels clicking decisively. The quadruplets moved with her. I got your invitation, Carrie continued, her voice carrying clearly. Such a thoughtful gesture, Thompson. Inviting your infertile ex-wife to celebrate your impending fatherhood. I'm sure that wasn't at all meant to be cruel. Carrie, this isn't. Thompson's voice came out strangled. Isn't what? Appropriate. You're right. But then, you've never been concerned with appropriate behavior, have you? Should I list examples? Or should we skip to the part where I introduce everyone to my children? She gestured to the quadruplets. Margaret Morrison had gone pale, staring at the 4 children with dawning horror and recognition. This is James, Carrie said, placing a hand on the tallest boy's shoulder. Oliver. Nathan. And this is Sophie, my only daughter and absolute force of nature. She paused, letting it sink in. 4 healthy, beautiful children. Born 2 years ago via IVF with donor sperm. Because it turns out, Thompson, I was never the problem. Melissa, heavily pregnant, grabbed Thompson's arm. What is she talking about? You said she was infertile. You said. He lied, Carrie said simply. About everything. About my fertility, about his, about why our marriage failed. Would you like to tell her, Thompson? Or shall? He lied, Carrie said simply. About everything. About my fertility, about his, about why our marriage failed. Would you like to tell her, Thompson? Or should I? Thompson's face had gone from white to red to a splotchy combination. You need to leave. No. This is harassment. Harassment. Carrie laughed. The sound bright and genuine. Like posting on social media about my alleged mental instability? Like calling my employer? Like 3 years of gaslighting me about medical results? That kind of harassment. She turned to address the crowd directly. Thompson's colleagues, family, former mutual friends. For those of you who believed Thompson's version of our divorce, let me give you the actual facts. Thompson knew before we even started trying to conceive that he had severe male factor infertility. He had testing done showing less than 5% chance of natural conception. But instead of telling me, he let me believe for 3 years that I was the problem. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Margaret Morrison had tears streaming down her face. He obtained copies of my medical records, which showed I was perfectly fertile, and lied to me about what they said. He told me I had poor egg quality when the actual reports said the opposite. He put me through 17 rounds of IUI treatment, knowing the entire time that the issue was his, not mine. He convinced me I was broken, defective, unworthy. Then he left me for my friend Melissa, claiming I was mentally unstable for obsessing over having children. Carrie looked at Melissa, whose face was streaked with tears. Did he tell you that, Melissa? That I was obsessed? Unstable? Did he make you feel sorry for him? He said. Melissa's voice broke. He said you had fertility problems. That you refused to accept it. Interesting. Because the court records, which are public, tell a very different story. They tell of a man who committed medical fraud against his wife, who lied under oath until confronted with irrefutable evidence, who was ordered to pay damages for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Carrie pulled a folded document from her purse, the divorce decree. She held it up. Judge Marianne Henderson called Thompson's behavior systematic psychological torture. She awarded me 75% of our marital assets, full legal fees, and punitive damages. She recommended I pursue criminal charges. Does that sound like the outcome for a mentally unstable woman making false accusations? The silence was absolute. Carrie could see the realization dawning on faces throughout the room. They'd been deceived. They'd participated in villainizing a victim. Thompson, cornered and desperate, made one last attempt. This is insane. You're proving my point. You're obsessed. I'm not obsessed, Thompson. I'm victorious. Carrie's smile was radiant. You spent years trying to convince me, and everyone else, that I was broken. That I could never have children. That I was defective. And I almost believed you. Almost. She gestured to her 4 children, who were watching the adults with wide, curious eyes. But here's what you never understood. The problem was never me. It was never my body. It was you. Your lies. Your cruelty. Your desperate need to blame someone else for your own inadequacies. Carrie pulled Sophie closer, smoothing her daughter's hair. These 4 miracles. They're proof that every single thing you said about me was a lie. I'm not infertile. I'm not broken. I'm not defective. I'm a mother. A successful artist. A woman who rebuilt her entire life after you tried to destroy it. She looked around the room, making eye contact with people who'd once been friends, who'd believed Thompson's narrative. So thank you, Thompson, for the invitation. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to stand here, whole and healed and surrounded by my beautiful children, and show everyone exactly what happened. Not your version, the truth. Margaret Morrison stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. Carrie, we didn't know. He told us you were. I'm so sorry. I know you didn't know, Margaret. That's what Thompson does best. He lies convincingly. Carrie's voice softened slightly. But now you do know. And now everyone here knows. Thompson looked around the room desperately, searching for support, for someone to defend him. But the faces looking back at him held shock, disgust, disappointment. His carefully constructed image had shattered completely. Melissa was crying openly now, one hand on her pregnant belly, the other covering her mouth. "Oh my God! Oh my God, what have I?" "You believed what he told you," Carrie said, her voice almost kind. "Just like I did. The difference is I found the strength to question it. I hope you do too." She turned back to Thompson one final time. "I forgive you," she said quietly, and meant it. "Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace. I spent too many years letting your cruelty define me. But I'm done with that now. I'm done with you." Carrie took Sophie's hand, and James, Oliver, and Nathan instinctively moved closer to their mother. "Enjoy your gender reveal, Thompson. I hope this baby brings you the joy you were never capable of giving me. I hope Melissa knows what she's getting into. And I hope someday you become the kind of man who can look at himself in the mirror without flinching." She turned toward the door, her children moving with her in perfect synchronization. "Goodbye, Thompson. This time it's really over." As Carrie walked out of the ballroom, she heard the explosion of whispered conversations behind her, felt the weight of dozens of eyes on her back. But she didn't turn around, didn't look back. Outside, Daniel was waiting by the car, exactly where he'd promised to be. "How did it go?" he asked, though the answer was written all over her face. "It went perfectly," Carrie said, lifting Sophie into her car seat while Daniel helped the boys. "He wanted to humiliate me one last time. Instead, I got to show him and everyone that I won. Not the divorce. Not the settlement. I won myself back." Daniel kissed her forehead. "I'm proud of you." "I'm proud of me too," Carrie said, and realized she meant it completely. As they drove away from the country club, Carrie glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. The building grew smaller, then disappeared entirely. She thought about the woman she'd been 3 years ago, broken, blamed, convinced she was defective. And she thought about the woman she was now, strong, whole, surrounded by love and miracles. Thompson had tried to write her story, had tried to make her the villain, the victim, the broken one. But Carrie had taken back her pen, and she'd written herself the ending she deserved. Not revenge, not bitterness, but healing, growth, joy, 4 beautiful children, a kind husband, a life built on truth instead of lies. "Mama," Sophie said from her car seat, "why was that man so sad?" Carrie smiled, meeting her daughter's eyes in the mirror. "Because he lost something very precious, sweetheart. And he didn't realize what he had until it was gone." "What did he lose?" "Me," Carrie said simply. "He lost me. And that, my darling, was the biggest mistake of his life." James, ever the observant one, piped up. "Are we going home now?" "Yes, baby. We're going home." Home. Not to the house she'd shared with Thompson, filled with pain and lies, but to the warm, bright apartment she shared with Daniel and her children. The home she'd built herself, brick by brick, truth by truth. Home to the life she'd created after the one she'd planned had burned to ashes. Home to proof that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well, loving fully, and becoming everything the person who hurt you said you could never be. Thompson had called her defective, broken, incapable. Carrie had proved him wrong in the most spectacular way possible. She'd become whole. She'd become a mother. 4 times over. She'd become free. And that, in the end, was the greatest victory of all. Have you ever had a moment where you got to show someone who doubted you just how wrong they were? Have you ever walked back into a situation that once destroyed you, but this time as the victor? Share your story of triumph and redemption in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone who needs to hear that healing is possible.
Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you love this story, you will surely enjoy the next one. It's crazier and more intriguing than you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.